condemned vehicle dripping down the side of my 1965 Rolls-Royce Silver Cloud like blood from a fresh wound. The chemical smell burned my throat as I stood there in my pajamas, staring at 8 months of work destroyed in 30 seconds. But it wasn't random vandalism. Tucked under my windshield wiper was an official HOA notice. Vehicle removed for code violations. Contact Brenda Kensington for retrieval information. My car on my property that I'd restored from a rust bucket into a $200,000 masterpiece, and my HOA president had just spray painted it like abandoned junk and was trying to steal it with paperwork. The wet paint was still tacky against my fingertip. She'd done this maybe an hour ago, thinking I'd never fight back. What would you do? Drop your location in the comments, because her arrest warrant is worth the wait. 6 months ago, I was just Marcus Holloway, 58, retired Boeing machinist, trying to figure out how to fill the days after my wife Elena died. Cancer took her in March. By October, I was drowning in silence. That's when I found the Rolls-Royce 1965 Silver Cloud 2, buried under 30 years of dust in my neighbor's garage. Poor bastard died intestate, estate sale, vultures picking over his life like crows. $8,000 for what looked like a metal coffin on wheels. Engine seized tighter than a miser's wallet. Mice had turned the leather interior into a 5-star hotel. The smell hit you like a punch. Mildew, rust, and decades of neglect. But God, those lines, even covered in filth. You could see the aristocracy underneath. I'd moved to Maplewood Estates for peace and quiet. Decent neighborhood. Reasonable HOA. The kind of place where people wave and mind their business. The flatbed dropped my project car on a Tuesday, and I was already planning my attack when I heard heels clicking up my driveway. "Excuse me, are you the new owner?" Brenda Kensington looked like she'd stepped out of a real estate magazine. Perfectly blown-out hair, business casual armor, smartphone, and clipboard like weapons of mass regulation. Everything about her screamed, I peaked in high school, and now I'm everyone's problem. That depends. You selling something? HOA. Compliance? She was already photographing my car. I'm Brenda, neighborhood president. That vehicle is in violation of our aesthetic standards. It's been here 20 minutes. Doesn't matter. Inoperable vehicles aren't permitted in visible areas. Click, 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 went her phone camera. You have 72 hours. Here's the thing about HOA covenants. Most are copy-paste jobs from 30 years ago that nobody's actually read. First knowledge nugget. Always demand the complete original documents, not just the summary they hand you. Half these violations are unenforceable. Garbage. But I was still playing nice. Look, lady, I'm restoring it. It's a hobby. Nevertheless, she handed me a pre-written citation. Daily fines begin Thursday. That's when I noticed her lingering. Normal neighbor would have left after delivering the bad news. Brenda stood there studying the rolls like she was memorizing every detail. Her eyes weren't showing disgust. They showed something else. Recognition, maybe. Want. Beautiful car, she said, quietly. Shame to see it. Abandoned. It's not abandoned. It's a project. Of course, that fake smile again. Well, 72 hours, Mr. Holloway. She walked away, but I watched her in my security camera feed. 3 slow circles around the block in her white BMW, pausing each time to stare at my driveway, not checking for violations, studying, planning. That night, I researched. Brenda Kensington, real estate agent for 12 years, HOA president for 8, specializing in luxury estate management. Her LinkedIn read like a resume for professional meddling. But here's what caught my attention. She'd been sued twice for questionable property acquisition practices and settled both times out of court. The next morning brought citation number 2, commercial vehicle storage, because I'd ordered an engine hoist delivered. Citation 3, noise violations from excessive automotive repair activities on a day I hadn't even opened the garage. Citation 4, improper waste disposal for the cardboard box. As my parts came in, by week's end, I owed $400 in fines for basically existing. But the real red flag, every evening, that white BMW made its rounds. Slow, deliberate, like a shark circling wounded prey. And every time, Brenda would sit there staring at my rolls for just a little too long, like she was waiting for something. Week 2, Brenda declared war. Monday brought citation number 5, improper vehicle orientation. Apparently, My Rolls was facing the wrong direction. I parked it nose out, like every other car on the block, but somehow mine violated aesthetic harmony standards. Tuesday, unauthorized. Commercial delivery acceptance because UPS dropped off engine parts. You know, the same way they deliver everything, from dog food to dildos to every other house in America. Wednesday, noise violation during designated quiet hours. For starting my Honda Civic at 2 p.m. to buy groceries in broad daylight on a Wednesday. By Thursday, I'd racked up $400 in fines for basically existing while owning a project car. But here's where Brenda got sloppy. My neighbor, Jerry, knocked on my door that morning, scratching his head like he'd just witnessed something supernatural. Strangest thing, Marcus. Got a call yesterday from your HOA lady asking if you'd been running some kind of auto shop. Had all these detailed questions about noise and commercial vehicles. He paused. Thing is, she already seemed to know my answers. Like she was reading from a script. That's when it clicked. Brenda wasn't just making up violations. She was manufacturing witness statements, building a case file like some suburban prosecutor planning my automotive execution. Time to fight back with actual facts instead of her fiction. I spent that weekend diving into Washington state vehicle codes, something I should have done the moment I moved here. Turned out most of Brenda's citations referenced regulations that had been updated or completely abolished years ago. Even better, I discovered Washington's hobby restoration exemption. You get 180 days to restore a vehicle on private property without any permits or restrictions as long as you're not running a business. I'd read about this kind of thing in classic car forums, guys getting harassed by HOAs until they learned to fight back with real law instead of neighborhood politics. The state legislature actually protects restoration projects because they recognize the historical and economic value. Monday morning, I filed formal appeals for every single citation, complete with legal references, photos proving compliance, and copies of the state exemption statute. I sent the whole package to every board member, the property management company, and just for fun, Brenda's real estate broker. Her response arrived by dinner. Citation number 8. Unauthorized hazardous material storage for 1 quart of Valvoline in my garage, but I was done playing defense. Tuesday morning, I wheeled my engine hoist out of the garage for the Rolls' first real surgery. The metal wheels scraped against concrete like nails on a chalkboard, announcing to the neighborhood that something serious was about to happen. The moment I cracked the first bolt on that seized V8, 30 years of automotive history came pouring out. Sweet, thick motor oil mixed with rust and the sharp chemical bite of penetrating fluid. Smells that took me back to weekend projects with my dad when fixing things meant more than just therapy. Within an hour, I had an audience. Jerry from next door, Tom from across the street, even Mrs. Patterson, dragging her ancient poodle over to investigate. Word travels fast in suburbia when someone's doing something more interesting than mowing grass in perfect diagonal lines. Jesus, Marcus, Tom whistled, peering into the engine bay. That's more chrome than a Harley convention. That's when I spotted the white BMW making its fourth pass of the morning. Brenda wasn't just checking on me anymore. She was documenting everything with her phone. Every tool, every part, every neighbor who stopped to look. But Wednesday brought the game changer I never saw coming. City code enforcement showed up at my door. Official badge, serious clipboard, the whole intimidation package. My heart dropped. Had Brenda actually gotten the city to shut me down? Mr. Holloway, hear about the commercial automotive operation complaints? I was ready to lawyer up when I saw his expression. Pure, bureaucratic exasperation. Look, I'll be straight with you. We've gotten 19 calls about this address in 2 weeks. 19. That's more than most actual auto shops generate. He gestured at my obviously hobby-level setup. This is clearly personal restoration, not commercial activity. Whoever's calling this in is wasting taxpayer money. Any idea who? Same number every time. Woman, who identifies herself as concerned neighbor Brenda. She's actually costing us money processing these bogus reports. After he left, I realized Brenda had just handed me a gift. She'd escalated to filing false government reports. That wasn't HOA overreach anymore. That was harassment with a paper trail all documented in city records. The amateur was about to learn why you don't pick fights with someone who spent 30 years reading technical manuals. Brenda's next move hit me where it hurt most, my wallet. Thursday morning, 7 a.m. phone call from my homeowner's insurance. Mr. Holloway, we need to clarify some concerns about automotive business activity at your residence. Business activity. Anonymous report claims you're operating an unlicensed repair shop. If that's true, your current policy doesn't cover commercial liability. I could practically hear Brenda's voice behind those words. She'd found my weak spot. Mess with a man's insurance, and you mess with his financial security. Took 3 hours on hold to convince them I was restoring one car, not running Jiffy Lube out of my garage. But the damage was done. My policy was now flagged for review. That afternoon brought the real gut punch. I was adjusting valve clearances when my neighbor Jerry wandered over, beer in hand and confusion written across his face. Strangest thing, Marcus, your HOA lady, stopped by asking questions about your house. What kind of questions? Real estate stuff. How long you'd lived here. What you paid. Whether you seemed financially stable. Jerry's expression darkened. Asked if the car project looked expensive, whether I thought you were overextending yourself. The wrench went cold in my hand. She asked about my finances. Yeah, and here's the creepy part. She already knew the answers. Like she was confirming information she already had. That's when the pieces clicked. The constant documentation, the harassment campaign, the financial probing. Brenda wasn't trying to enforce HOA rules. She was conducting reconnaissance. But for what? Saturdays. Mail brought my answer. A glossy real estate flyer featuring recent sales in your neighborhood. Every property listed had sold 15 to 20% above asking with glowing descriptions of community stability and maintained property values. Buried in the small print was the kicker. Avoid problematic properties that can affect your home's value. Contact Brenda Kensington for a free market analysis. She was using my restoration project as a scare tactic to drum up business. But the real revelation came Sunday morning when I was polishing chrome trim. The sweet smell of metal polish mixing with coffee from my kitchen window. Mrs. Patterson shuffled over with her ancient poodle, looking like she had something stuck in her throat. Marcus, dear, I probably shouldn't tell you this. What's up, Mrs. P? That HOA woman came by yesterday asking about you, but the questions were odd. She glanced around like she was sharing state secrets. Wanted to know if you seemed mentally stable after your wife's passing, whether the car project was healthy, grieving, or concerning obsession. My blood pressure spiked. She asked about my mental health. Said she was worried. About neighborhood safety. Asked if I'd noticed any erratic behavior or signs of instability. Mrs. Patterson's voice dropped to a whisper. I told her you were the most normal person on the block, but Marcus, she was taking notes. That's when I realized this wasn't about property, values, or HOA compliance. Brenda was building a psychological profile, laying groundwork to question my competency. In Washington state, HOAs can force property sales if they can prove owners are creating ongoing disturbances due to mental instability. She was trying to steal my house. Monday morning brought the mini twist that changed everything. I was replacing spark plugs, the satisfying click of each one seating properly, when a black SUV pulled up. 2 guys in suits stepped out, looking like they'd rather be anywhere else. Mr. Holloway, we're from King County Adult Protective Services. My heart stopped. Protective Services? We received a report expressing concern about your welfare. Anonymous caller suggested you might be experiencing difficulties following your wife's death. The taller one looked embarrassed. Look, we can see this is obviously you're clearly fine. Your property's well maintained. And, frankly, whoever called this and wasted everyone's time. Any idea who made the report? Can't say officially, but he glanced at his partner. Female caller identified herself as a concerned neighbor. Very detailed information about your concerning automotive obsession and financial instability. After they left, I stood in my driveway, staring at the Rolls, its chrome bumper reflecting my face like a funhouse mirror. Brenda had escalated from harassment to character assassination. She'd try to get the government to declare me mentally unfit. But she'd made a crucial mistake. Every false report, every malicious call, every attempt to destroy my reputation was now documented in official records. The retired machinist was about to teach the real estate agent what precision engineering really looked like. Tuesday brought Brenda's nuclear option, actual lawyers. The certified letter was thick. as a phone book and twice as threatening. Cease and desist. Residential covenant violations stamped. Across legal letterhead that probably cost more per page than most people make in a day. 27 violations, $3,200 in. Fines, 10 days to comply or face property lien and potential foreclosure proceedings. But what made my coffee taste like battery acid wasn't the legal threats. It was the attached photos, professional surveillance shots of my rolls taken with telephoto lenses, including pictures through my garage windows and detailed close-ups of my tool setup. Someone had been stalking my property like I was running a meth lab instead of restoring a classic car. Elena used to handle all our legal stuff. Sitting alone at my kitchen table, reading lawyer speak felt like drowning in alphabet soup. Time to call on my own professional. Jim Martinez had been Elena's estate attorney. Knew my situation. Marcus, this is textbook harassment. Half these violations cite regulations that don't exist. The other half are procedural garbage. Can they really take my house? Not for violations this flimsy. Paper rustled through the phone. But I'm seeing a pattern here. Someone's building toward bigger action, forced sale, maybe property seizure claims. While Jim dissected the legal threats, I threw myself into the one thing that still made sense. Finishing my rolls. Wednesday morning, she finally came. Alive. 3 months of weekends, 60,000 in parts, and more cursing than a sailor convention. But when I turned that key, 12 cylinders fired in perfect harmony. The rumble echoed through my garage like mechanical thunder, deep and satisfying. As a perfect golf shot. Fresh exhaust mixed with new oil smells, the scent of resurrection. For exactly 30 seconds, I forgot about HOA presidents and legal threats. Then I spotted the white BMW making its morning surveillance run. Except this time, Brenda had brought backup, a guy with a professional camera taking pictures through my open garage door. That evening, my neighbor Tom wandered over with the expression of someone delivering bad news about a terminal diagnosis. Marcus, Brenda's been making house calls. He cracked open a beer, the hiss of carbonation sharp in the evening air, going door to door with some story about your restoration releasing toxic chemicals. Toxic chemicals. Claims automotive paint fumes are dangerous to children, that engine fluids are contaminating groundwater. Tom shook his head, showed people close-up photos of your parts storage. Made it sound like you're running Chernobyl out of your garage. The real gut punch came Thursday when I checked my security footage. There, clear as day at 11:23 p.m., was Brenda herself walking up my driveway with a flashlight, testing my garage door handle, peering through windows like she owned the place, not sending someone, doing it herself. I rewound the footage 3 times, unable to believe the sheer audacity. This wasn't HOA enforcement. It was criminal trespassing. But the mini twist that nearly gave me a heart attack came Friday morning. My doorbell rang at 6 a.m. 2 King County Sheriff's deputies stood on my porch, looking like they'd rather be arresting actual criminals. Mr. Holloway, we need to ask about reports of illegal dumping on your property. Illegal dumping? Anonymous caller reported automotive waste disposal, possible groundwater contamination. The younger deputy looked embarrassed. We're required to investigate environmental complaints. They spent 20 minutes examining my perfectly legal parts storage, oil recycling setup, and EPA-compliant fluid disposal system. Found exactly nothing because there was nothing to find. Sir, whoever called this in either doesn't understand automotive restoration or deliberately wasted our time. The senior deputy said, your setup's cleaner than most professional shops. After they left, I stood in my driveway staring at the rolls. Its perfect paint job reflecting morning sunlight like liquid metal. Brenda had escalated to filing false police reports. That wasn't harassment anymore. That was criminal fraud. But here's what she didn't know. I'd spent 30 years documenting every bolt, gasket, and procedure in aircraft engines where one mistake could kill people. I had receipts for every part, photos of every step, compliance records for every fluid disposal. While she was playing amateur detective, I'd been building an evidence file that would make the FBI jealous. That afternoon, Jim called with news that made me literally punch the air. Marcus found something in the original 1987 HOA documents. Automotive restoration is explicitly protected for vehicles over 25 years old. Not just allowed, protected as a grandfathered right. Every citation she's issued violates the HOA's own founding rules. She's been threatening you for activities that are legally protected under the very documents she swore to enforce. The irony was beautiful. Brenda had spent months building a case against someone whose activities were bulletproof legal under her own organization's charter. Time to show her what precision looked like. Jim's follow-up call Monday morning dropped a bomb I never saw coming. Marcus, I've been digging into Brenda's finances. Found something that explains everything. Papers rustled through the phone. She's leveraged to her eyeballs. 3 investment properties, all mortgaged against expected property value increases in your neighborhood. What's that got to do with me? Everything. She's been using her HOA position to artificially inflate property standards, driving up home values to secure her loans. Jim's voice carried the satisfaction of solving a puzzle. Your restoration project threatens that narrative. My coffee went cold as the implications sank in. She needs the neighborhood to look perfect. More than that, she needs it to look expensive. Classic cars suggest blue-collar hobbies that conflicts with the upscale image she's been selling to banks and buyers. But the real revelation came from an unexpected source. Tuesday evening, I was polishing chrome when Tom from across the street wandered over with a beer and a guilty expression. Marcus, I need to tell you something about Brenda's little campaign. He took a long drink, choosing his words carefully. She offered me money. Money for what? To sign a petition complaining about your car. $500 to put my name on a document saying your restoration was lowering property values. Tom's face rained. I told her to go to hell. But Marcus, 3 of our neighbors took the deal. The metallic taste of anger filled my mouth. She's buying signatures. Gets worse. She's been telling potential home buyers that the neighborhood has strict automotive standards to maintain property values. Your car contradicts her sales pitch. That explained the professional photography, the constant documentation. Brenda wasn't just harassing me. She was gathering evidence to prove her enforcement standards to clients and lenders. Wednesday brought the smoking gun I needed. My mailman, Steve, knocked on my door with an expression like he just witnessed a crime. Mr. Holloway probably shouldn't tell you this, but he glanced around nervously. That HOA lady intercepted your mail yesterday. Said she was investigating postal violations related to your automotive parts deliveries. She intercepted my mail, took photos of packages, return addresses, everything. When I told her that was illegal, she claimed HOA authority over commercial deliveries. Steve shook his head. 20 years delivering mail, never seen anything like it. Mail tampering was a federal crime. Brenda had escalated from local harassment to federal violations. But the final piece came Thursday when I was testing the Rolls electrical system. The sweet smell of new wiring mixing with old leather. My phone rang. Jim again, but this time his voice carried pure excitement. Marcus, jackpot. I found Brenda's real estate license. Investigation files. Documents rustled. She's been investigated twice for questionable property acquisition practices. Both cases involved using her HOA position to pressure homeowners into selling below market value. What happened to those cases? Settled out of court with non-disclosure agreements. But here's the beautiful part. The state's been watching her. Your situation triggered a 3rd investigation. My hands went steady on the wire strippers as everything clicked into place. The harassment campaign, the false reports, the financial pressure. It wasn't personal vindictiveness. It was business strategy. Brenda had been running a property manipulation scheme, using HOA authority to create artificial emergencies that forced homeowners to sell. She'd done it before, gotten away with it, and thought I'd be just another easy mark. But she'd picked the wrong retired machinist to swindle. The woman who thought she could steal my car with paperwork was about to learn what happened when you tried to defraud someone who'd spent 30 years reading fine print for a living. Time to show her what precision engineering looked like when applied to justice. Thursday night, I turned my dining room into mission control. Legal documents spread across Elena's antique oak table like pieces of a jigsaw puzzle. Citation copies, security footage, timestamps, witness statements, financial records. The room still smelled faintly of her lavender candles. A bittersweet reminder that she would have loved watching me take down a bureaucratic bully. Time to fight fire with engineering precision. First lesson from 30 years at Boeing. Documentation beats everything. Started a spreadsheet tracking every violation. Brenda had committed while claiming to enforce rules, dates, times, witnesses, photographic evidence. By 2 a.m., I had 31 documented instances of procedural violations, harassment, and potential criminal activity. Most people don't realize HOAs have to follow actual legal procedures when issuing fines. You can't just make up rules and start collecting money. There's due process, proper notice requirements, appeal procedures. I'd worked quality control long enough to spot a defective system when I saw 1. Brenda's entire enforcement process was procedural garbage. Friday brought my first real ally. Tom knocked on my door with coffee and the expression of someone who'd made a decision. Marcus, I've been thinking about what that woman's been doing to you. He settled into my kitchen chair with the weight of moral conviction. It's not right. Jerry feels the same way. What do you mean? We want to help. Jerry's got security cameras covering part of your driveway. I've been keeping a log of her drive-abys 17 times in the past week. Tom pulled out a notebook that looked like something from a detective show. Mrs. Patterson's been documenting the harassment calls to other neighbors. Turned out half the block had been watching Brenda's campaign with growing disgust. Nobody likes a bully, especially one who weaponizes paperwork. Saturday morning, I took the rolls for her maiden voyage around the neighborhood. 3 months of work, and she drove like royalty, returning from exile. The engine purred with mechanical satisfaction, chrome gleaming in morning sunlight, leather interior filling with that new car smell that actually smelled like pride. But the real magic happened. At the first stop sign, Mrs. Zill from 2 streets over pulled up beside me in her Prius, rolled down her window, and smiled wider than a kid on Christmas morning. Marcus, that car is absolutely gorgeous. Is that the one that woman's been complaining about? Word travels fast in suburbia. By the time I completed my victory lap, I'd gotten thumbs up from 6 neighbors, 3 horn honks of approval, and 1 teenager asking if he could take selfies next to the cool old car. The public opinion war was shifting in my favor, but Sunday brought the tactical breakthrough I needed. Jim called with news that made me literally pump my fist. Marcus found something beautiful in Washington state HOA law. If an HOA president files demonstrably false reports with government agencies, homeowners can petition for emergency leadership removal. What does that mean? It means Brenda's false police reports, fraudulent environmental complaints, and harassment documentation could get her thrown out of office before any property liens go through. Papers rustled through the phone. Better yet, you can recover legal fees and damages. That afternoon, I implemented